Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Hakanamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vaibhava Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurtushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishamanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We welcome you once again. We are studying the chapter about Lord's different incarnations, and in the previous class we covered from verse 1 to verse number 15. The different incarnations that we came to know about were starting with Varaha Avatar, then Suyagya, Kapila, Dattatreya, four Kumaras, Nar Narayan, Prishnigarbha, Prithu, Rishabdev, Hayagriva, Matsya, Kurma, Narsingdev, and Hari. So these 15 incarnations were covered in the last class. Who is Hari? Hari is that Lord who came to protect Gajendra, the elephant. So the next verse 16 also talks about him. We are going to read now the next verse 16. Shrutva haristam aranarthinam aprameyash chakrayudha patagar rajbhujadirudhaha chakrena nakravadanam vinipatya tasmat taste prakriya bhagavan kripayo jadharaha. The personality of Godhead, after hearing the elephant's plea, felt that the elephant needed his immediate help, for he was in great distress. Thus, at once the Lord appeared there on the wings of the king of birds, Garuda, fully equipped with his weapon, the wheel chakra. With the wheel, he cut to pieces the mouth of the crocodile to save the elephant, and he delivered the elephant by lifting him by his trunk. So it is said that actually when Gajendra was calling the Supreme Lord, it's very nicely explained, elaborated in Canto 8 of Srimad-bhagavatam, and I'm sure you must have read it or heard this pastime. So the Acharya has explained when Gajendra was calling for the Lord's help, the Lord told Garuda, we need to go fast to help this elephant. And he sat on the back of Garuda. Garuda started flying. But when the Lord saw that the speed of Garuda is very less, he's going at very slow speed, so then he told Garuda, you stop. And he got down from the seat of Garuda, and then he put Garuda under his armpit, and said, now I will fly because your speed is very slow. Now I will fly. So then he flew from there, keeping Garuda under his armpit. And when he was just reaching the destination, then he removed Garuda from below his armpit and said, now you can again become my carrier. I'll sit on your top and then we go to the spot, you know. So this is what Lord did to reach there very fast. He became the carrier of Garuda because he wanted to help Gajendra. The crocodile would have eaten up Gajendra, and Krishna didn't want to waste any time. Here there is an interesting question. Think about it. Mm, let's say crocodile would have eaten up Gajendra, right? But if Krishna wanted to take that elephant back home, back to Godhead, how does it matter whether he takes him like this or he allows him to be eaten up by the crocodile and then takes him? Finally, death will come anyway, whether you are eaten up by by the crocodile or you're not eaten up by the crocodile. Death is sure to come, and a devotee also dies. Material body dies. So why Krishna? I mean, just think about it. Okay, if Krishna wanted that elephant to live longer in the material world, so he should have come, killed the crocodile, told the elephant, you'll live for 10,000 more years, and then after that you'll come back to my abode, Vaikuntha. But if he had to just take him at that moment back home, back to Godhead, why kill the crocodile? What benefit Gajendra gets by it anyway? You may say he'll be saved from the pain that crocodile was biting into his leg. But he was already suffering for so long, no? What is the answer for this? What do you say? I hope you got my question. Anyone? No answers. Yes, Madhuvan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, I think Krishna just wants to show his prowess as a swift deliverer.
Okay. So he
And
wants to
then,
show his prowess.
yes.
What
And
else?
then also to show that himself and his holy name, they are not different. So whoever chants his name, Krishna is ready to appear almost immediately.
Very good.
Or immediately.
So he could have come there on that spot and he could have just waited there, watched this whole thing happen, that the crocodile is eating up the elephant, and after that he could have taken Gajendra back home, back to Godhead. Why did he
Yes.
had to cut the throat of that crocodile?
It's, because Jajendra is his devotee, and
So,
he has promised his devotee that devotee shall never be vanquished. That was his promise in the Bhagavad
but
Gita.
Krishna nowhere promises that the material body will not get vanquished. I mean, so many devotees, the material body gets vanquished. So, what do you think? What do you say about it? Why Krishna has to cut the throat of crocodile? Because you see, he's not doing that and telling Gajendra, now you can live happily for 10,000 years. I saved your life, and after that I'll come to take you back home, back to Godhead. Immediately he takes him back home, back to Godhead. So why cut the throat of crocodile? Interesting, right? He cut the throat of crocodile to benefit the crocodile. Because the chakra touched the body of crocodile, Sudarshan chakra of the Supreme Lord is purifying. So when that chakra touched the body of the crocodile got spiritual benefit.
That's true.
So he killed the crocodile to benefit the crocodile. Otherwise, the crocodile would have got no benefit. So because Krishna cut the head of that crocodile also got some benefit. For a devotee, whether Krishna protects the material body or doesn't protect the material body, how does it matter? After all, that person is going back and back to Godhead. It doesn't matter at all. And there are so many examples where Krishna doesn't protect the material body. We see so many examples from the scriptures. Devotees also die, isn't it?
Yes,
And
yes.
not always that devotees die a pleasant death. Many times devotees die in a very uncomfortable, unpleasant circumstances. However, here Krishna is trying to benefit the crocodile as well by punishing the crocodile, by cutting his throat. So he does so. So Krishna is an interesting personality. He has many reasons to do anything. Purport. The Lord resides in his Vaikuntha planet. No one can estimate how far away this planet is situated. It is said, however, that anyone trying to reach that planet by airships or by mine ships, traveling for millions of years, will find it still unknown. Modern scientists have invented airships which are material, and the yogis make a still finer material attempt to travel by mine ships. The yogis can reach any distant place very quickly with the help of mine ships, but neither the airship nor the mine ship has access to the kingdom of God in the Vaikuntha Lok, situated far beyond the material sky. Since this is the situation, how was it possible for the prayers of the elephant to be heard from such an unlimitedly distant place? And how could the Lord at once appear on the spot? These things cannot be calculated by human imagination. Such a nice question Prabhupada is putting forth. If I cannot reach Golok Vrindavan, how can my prayers go there? All this was possible by the unlimited power of the Lord, and therefore the Lord is described here as Aprameya. For not even the best human brain can estimate his powers and potencies by mathematical calculation. The Lord can hear from such a distant place, he can eat from there, and he can appear simultaneously in all places at a moment's notice. Such is the omnipotency of the Lord. Next verse. This verse talks about Vaman avatar. Jayayan gunair avarajo adite hasutanam lokan vichakrama iman yat athadhiyakyah shamam vamanena jagrihe tripachalena yachyam rite pathi charana prabhubhir nachalyah. The Lord, although transcendental to all material modes, still surpassed all the qualities of the sons of Aditi, known as the Adityas. The Lord appeared as the youngest son of Aditi, and because he surpassed all the planets of the universe, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the pretense of asking for a measurement of 3 footsteps of land, he took away all the lands of Bali Maharaj. He asked simply because, without begging, no authority can take one's rightful position. Yes, if Krishna would have stolen it away from Bali Maharaj, he would have become an aggressor. So Krishna begged, can you please give me 3 steps of land? And Bali Maharaj said, okay, take. And then he took everything. Okay, Papat. Yes, Madhu and Prabhu, you seem to be the only person who has written on, so please read.
Okay. The history of Bali Maharaj and his charity to Vamana Dev is described in the 8th Canto of Srimad-bhagavatam. Bali Maharaj conquered all the planets of the universe by rightful possession. A king can conquer other kings by strength, and such possessions is considered to be rightful. So Bali Maharaj possessed all the lands of the universe, and he happened to be charitably disposed towards the Brahmanas. The Lord, therefore, pretended to be a beggar Brahmana, and he asked for a measurement of 3 footsteps of land from Bali Maharaj. The Lord, as the proprietor of everything, could take from him all the lands that Bali Maharaj possessed, but he did not do so because Bali Maharaj possessed all those lands by king's rights. While Bali Maharaj was asked by Lord Vamana for such small charity, the spiritual master of Bali Maharaj, namely Sukracharya, objected to this proposal because he knew that Vamana Dev was Vishnu himself. Pretending to be a beggar, Bali Maharaj did not agree to abide by the order of the spiritual master when he understood that the beggar was Vishnu himself, and he at once agreed to give him in charity the land requested. By this agreement, Lord Vamana covered all the lands of the universe with the first 2 steps, and then asked Bali Maharaj where to place the 3rd step. Bali Maharaj was very glad to receive the lands, the Lord's remaining step upon his head, and thus Bali Maharaj, instead of losing everything that he possessed, was blessed by the Lord becoming his constant companion and doorman. So, by giving everything to the cause of the Lord, one does not lose anything, but he gains everything that he could never otherwise expect.
Thank you. Next verse. Verse number 18. नार्थबलेर अयम उरुक्रमपादशौचम आपः शिखा धृतवतो विबुधाधिपत्यम यो वै प्रतिश्रुतमृते न चिकीर्षदन्यत् आत्मानमङ्गमनसा हरये भीमेने. Bali Maharaj, who put on his head the water washed from the lotus feet of the Lord, did not think of anything besides his promise, in spite of being forbidden by his spiritual master. The king dedicated his own personal body to fulfill the measurement of the Lord's third step. For such a personality, even the kingdom of heaven, which he conquered by his strength, was of no value. Was of no value. Popat. Some other devotee would like to read? Jyoti Swarup Prabhuji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, please, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Purport. Bali Maharaj, by gaining the transcendental favor of the Lord in exchange for his great material sacrifice, was able to have a place in Vaikuntha Loka with equal or great facilities of eternal enjoyment. Therefore, he was not at all the loser by sacrificing the kingdom of heaven, which he had possessed by his material strength. In other words, when the Lord snatches away one's hard earned material possessions and favor one with his personal transcendental service for eternal life, bliss, and knowledge, such taking away by the Lord should be considered a special favor upon such a pure devotee. Material possessions, however alluring they may be, cannot be permanent possessions. Therefore, one has to voluntarily give up such possessions, or one has to leave such possessions at the time of quitting this material body. The sane man knows that all material possessions are temporary and that the best use of such possessions is to engage them in the service of the Lord, so that the Lord may be pleased with him and award him a permanent place in his Param Dham. In the Bhagavad Gita 15.5 to 6, the Paramdham of the Lord is described as follows. One who possesses more in this material world in the shape of houses, land, children, society, friendship, and wealth possess these things only for the time being. One cannot possess all these illusory paraphernalia created by Maya permanently. Such a possessor is more illusioned in the matter of his self realization. Therefore, one should possess less or nothing so that one may be free from artificial prestige. We are contaminated in the material world by association with the three modes of material nature. Therefore, the more one spiritually advances by devotional service to the Lord in exchange for his temporary possessions, the more one is freed from the attachment of material illusion. To achieve this stage of life, one must be firmly convinced about spiritual existence and its permanent effect. To know exactly the permanency of spiritual existence, one must voluntarily practice possessing less or only the minimum to maintain one's material existence without difficulty. One should not create artificial needs that will help one be satisfied with the minimum. Artificial need of life are activities of the senses. The modern advancement of civilization is based on these activities of the senses, or in other words, it is civilization of sense gratification. Perfect civilization is the civilization of Atma or the soul proper. The civilized man of sense gratification is on an equal level with animals, because animals cannot go beyond the activities of the senses. Above the senses is the mind. The civilization of mental speculation is also not the perfect stage of life, because above the mind is the intelligence. And the Bhagavad Gita gives us information of the intellectual civilization. The Vedic literatures give different direction for the human civilization, including the civilization of the senses, of the mind, of the intelligence, and of the soul proper. The Bhagavad Gita primarily deals with the intelligence of the man, leading one to the possessive path of civilization of the spirit soul. And the Srimad-bhagavatam is the complete human civilization, dealing with the subject matter of the soul proper. As soon as the man is raised to the status of the civilization of the soul, he is fit to be promoted to the kingdom of the God, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita as per the above verses. The primary information of the kingdom of the God informs us that there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity, which are all necessary in this material world of the darkness. And the secondary information of the kingdom of the God explains that anyone able to reach that kingdom by adoption of the civilization of the soul proper, or in other words, by the method of bhakti yoga, attains the highest perfection of life. One is then situated in the permanent existence of the soul with full knowledge of transcendental loving service for the Lord. Bali Maharaj accept this civilization of the soul in exchange his great material possessions, and thus become fit for promotion to the kingdom of the God. The kingdom of heaven, which he achieved by dint of the material power, was considered most insignificant in comparison with the kingdom of the God. Those who have attained the comfort of the material civilization made for sense gratification should try to attain the kingdom of the God by following in the footsteps of Bali Maharaj, who exchanged his acquired material strength, adopting the process of bhakti yoga as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and further explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Pretty long purport. Yeah,
Yes,
second canto, Srila Prabhupada has given very, very long purports. Uh, I was one day once talking to a devotee that, you see, we get tired of reading these books because we may say so much of repetition of the same thing again and again, again and again and again and again. But think about Prabhupada writing the same thing again and again, again and again, again. He doesn't get tired of. He doesn't get tired about it. What he's writing in the purport is going to come in the next cantos, but still he takes the pain of rewriting it. That shows that he relishes all this subject matter. He is not tired of repeating the same subject matter so many times. The story of Bali Maharaj is very instructive, and Prabhupada is making significant points in the purport. One point which I really liked is that, you know, if Krishna is asking for us to pay a price, which may be also a very heavy price, like he's asking Bali Maharaj a lot, Bali Maharaj conquered the world, the three worlds, after a lot of hard work and perseverance. It's not that he got that as his father's legacy. He conquered the demigods. He fought with them. He he did so much of hard work. And after getting so much by his own hard work, someone comes and tells, "Now you give me everything." So that doesn't that is not just sacrifice of Bali Maharaj, but it is intelligence of Bali Maharaj. Why it is intelligence of Bali Maharaj? Bali Maharaj is thinking, if the Supreme Lord is asking me to sacrifice so much, in return, what he is going to give me is also going to be so much. So I was once thinking about it. Please think about it yourself also. Let's say a devotee is thinking, a member of Hare Krishna movement is thinking, I have already given so much for Krishna. I left eating non-vegetarian food. I have no now illicit relationship with opposite sex. I am not drinking any alcohol, no tea, no coffee, no intoxication of any kind. I don't eat in restaurants. I have given so much for Krishna. And still, so much more is being demanded. Right? If I am eating 3 times a day, then the scriptures are saying try to make it 2 times. If you are eating 2 times a day, then the scriptures are saying try to make it 1 time. If you are eating 1 time a day, then the scriptures are saying you just eat how much is needed to keep the body and soul together. So much of demand, if you are sleeping 10 hours before, then the scriptures say you sleep 6 hours a day. That's what is needed for the body. But if you are sleeping 6 hours a day, then the spiritual master is pushing you to make it 5 hours, 4 hours. So that again is being asked to reduce more and more and more. So a devotee may sometimes get frustrated. How much to give? There's a limit to it. How much more can I give? But think about it in another manner. In this world also, I was thinking once about it. In this world also, if you give up eating and you give up your sleep for some person, let's say someone is admitted in hospital and you went to care for that person, and while caring for that person, you did not sleep the whole night or you did not eat throughout the day, when that person will come to know about it, that person will be so grateful. For my sake, you did not eat. For my sake, you did not sleep. Then that person will start loving you more than before because you made a sacrifice for that person. So when we have an opportunity to sacrifice more for Krishna, if we take it in the positive manner, here is an opportunity to become more dear to Krishna. An ordinary person also pays back. Will Krishna not pay me back if I sacrifice for Krishna? And one of the qualities which is mentioned about Krishna in Bhakti-vaibhava is he is grateful, very, very grateful. You give little, he gives back so much more. Like that fruit seller, she went to Krishna's house with a basket full of fruits, and she gave only fruits to Krishna, but in return she found that her basket was full of jewels, gold, silver, diamond, right? So when we get an opportunity to give to Krishna, we should know one thing. He is not the kind of master we have in this world. He will give back much more than what we can imagine. And this attitude, there's nothing wrong in it. I mean, one may think, okay, this kind of attitude is wrong because I should not want anything from Krishna. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. That's what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. That is true. We should not want anything from Krishna. But if the idea that I am going to get something great from Krishna stimulates me to sacrifice more for Krishna, I should first of all go for that. Then I can come to that level that I will still sacrifice for Krishna without wanting anything from Krishna. So this understanding should be there. If Krishna is putting me in a situation where I am supposed to sacrifice, a big gift, a big return gift is coming soon if I agree to sacrifice from Krishna. So that's what happened with Bali Maharaj. Though Krishna took so much from him, in return he gave 3 things. First, what? He gave him a big kingdom somewhere else. Second, he told him, I'll become your gatekeeper. That's a reward. And the third thing, Bali Maharaj became celebrated in the history of mankind as the Acharya of Atmanivedan, self-surrender. Krishna gave him so much fame. And of course the fourth thing, Krishna will take him back to Godhead someday. So Krishna rewards generously. That's Krishna's nature. And we should invest in that. Next verse. Tubhyam cha narada visham bhagavan vivriddha bhavena sadhu parituštau vacha yogam jnanam cha bhagavatam atmasatatva deepam yad vasudeva sharana viduranjasaiva. O Narad, you are taught about the science of God and His transcendental loving service by the personality of Godhead in His incarnation of Hamsa avatar. He was very much pleased with you due to your intense proportion of devotional service. He also explained unto you lucidly the full science of devotional service, which is especially understandable by persons who are souls surrendered unto Lord Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead. So now the next avatar is being spoken about, Hansa avatar of the Supreme Lord. Someone else would like to read? I think Tamal Krishna Prabhu, you wanted to read previously. Would you now read?
Yeah, the devotees and devotional service are too collectively same, unless one is inclined to be the devotees of the Lord. He cannot enter into the intricacies of devotional service. Lord Sri Krishna wanted to explain the Bhagavad-gita, which is the science of devotional service, unto Sri Arjuna. Because Arjuna was not only his friend, but a great devotee as well. The whole process is that all living entities being constitutional part and parcel of the supreme living being, the absolute personality of Godhead, have proportionately minute independence of action also. So the primary qualification for entering into the devotional service of the Lord is that one becomes a willing cooperator. And as such, one should voluntarily cooperate with persons who are already engaged in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord. By cooperating with such persons, the prospective candidate will gradually learn the technical of devotional service. And with the process of such learning, one become proportionately free from contamination of material association. Such a preparatory process will establish the prospective candidate in firm faith, and gradually elevate him to the state of transcendental taste for such devotional service. That he acquire a genuine attachment for the devotional service of the Lord, and his conviction carried him on to the point of ecstasy, just brought to the state of transcendental love. Such knowledge of devotional service may be divided into two sections, namely primary knowledge of the nature of devotional service, and secondly, knowledge of its execution. Bhagavatam is in relation with the personality of Godhead, his beauty, fame, opulence, dignity, attraction, and transcendental quality, which attract one towards him for exchange of love and affection. There is a natural affinity of the living entity for the loving service of the Lord. The affinity becomes artificially covered by the influence of material association. Srimad-bhagavatam help one very generally remove that artificial covering. Therefore, it is particularly mentioned herein that Srimad-bhagavatam act like a lamp of transcendental knowledge. Those two sessions of transcendental knowledge in devotional service become revealed to a person who is a soul surrender unto Vasudeva, as it is said in the Bhagavatam 7:19. Such a great soul fully surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva is very, very rare. Hare Krishna.
Very, very, very rare. Yes. So it says that one should cooperate with whom? Those personalities who are engaging sent person in God's service. Who is that person? That person is the spiritual master, Guru, and one should cooperate with him. With this is the easiest way and actually the only way to go back and back to God. That we must 100% cooperate with the pure devotees' plans, the spiritual master's plans. That is the easiest way and the only way. The problem is that conditioned souls, they like to make their own plans. My own plans, not Krishna's plans and Guru's plans, my own plans, and follow those plans. But if we just choose to stop planning for one life, for so many lives we have made plans. For this one life we will stop planning and accept Guru's plan. What does my Guru want? What does my spiritual master want? and just do that. That is called cooperation. Very important, very much needed. And that's why it's a duty of the disciples to study the books and hear the tapes of the spiritual master and try to understand their plans. What is their plan? What do they want us to do? What do they want us to do in our life? Very, very essential for us to know. Srila Prabhupada, his success is because he tried to follow the plan of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada's disciples who made their life successful was that because they followed the plans of Srila Prabhupada. And we will become successful in Krishna consciousness if we begin to follow the plans of our spiritual masters and cooperate with that. That's needed. We don't have to give up our intelligence. We don't have to give up our, sense of taking an initiative. Nothing like that. Our initiative tendency and potency, our free will, everything will be there. We just need to accept the plan and be a part of the plan. Like when you are playing in a team, if you agree to be a player within the team, playing for the success of the team, you are cooperating with the team and you are still an individual player. Likewise, I can have my individuality within the Krishna consciousness movement, but that individuality should be within the boundary of Guru's and Krishna's plans. That has to be there. That has to be understood very well. Then our life will be easily successful. Otherwise, it will be so difficult to go back home, back to body. Next to impossible. If we give ourselves to following spiritual master's plan, even if we are not successful, the spiritual master will give us a grace point. Why? Because I agreed to obey him. I agreed to obey. So there will be a grace mark. At least you agreed to obey my order. You agreed to accept my plan. So this is very safe, very, very safe. That's why it is said that even if you go to hell while following the order of the spiritual master will go to hell to protect you, because you obeyed his order. So now it's his responsibility to give you protection. So this has to be nicely accepted in the life of all the devotees, that we follow Guru's plan, Krishna's plan, Acharya's plan, and that makes our life easily successful, or there are more chances to make our life successful. Very much needed. Now the spirit of being dedicated to the mission of spiritual master is slowly fading away in ISKCON. People like to be more congregation devotees, which means we visit occasionally. Sometimes we go to temple, sometimes we worship the Supreme Lord. Of course, if someone is a grihastha, you cannot go to temple, every day. Maybe not possible. But just before this, I was taking a Bhakti Shastri class, so I told the devotees, it doesn't matter whether I am a grihastha or brahmachari, sannyasi, or married or unmarried, man or woman. Every one of us has to become full-time devotees. If not in dress, at least in consciousness. If not in dress, we have to become full-time devotees in consciousness, right? Which means I am a devotee whether I am in temple, or I am a devotee when I am in my office, I am a devotee when I am at home, I am a devotee when I am in a public place, I am a devotee everywhere. That has to be there. But that spirit is entering into our society, like I am a very religious Christian, I am a very religious Muslim. Similarly, I am a very religious ISKCON member or ISKCON follower. But we have to go beyond. Go beyond, right? Going beyond means ISKCON is not Prabhupada's organization. ISKCON is my family. This organization of Prabhupada is my family, and the members of this family are my family members. This is not that we come to ISKCON or ISKCON temples, or we come to ISKCON projects thinking we are visitors. No, this is my father's property. This is my father's project. This is my father's mission, and I'm a part of it. This belongingness, the Acharyas explain, This belongingness is so purifying, and this belongingness can actually always keep us Krishna conscious. Where do I belong? That's the whole subject matter. Material consciousness means I belong to my father, I belong to my mother, I belong to my husband and wife, I belong to my children, I belong to the country, I belong to this planet, I belong to the society, I belong to some institute. And spiritual consciousness means I belong to Krishna, I belong to Guru, I belong to Srila Prabhupada. That belongingness has to be there. Then that makes it very easy for one to pave the path back to Godhead. Because when I say I belong to Krishna, where will I go? I'll go to Krishna's home. I'll go there, because that's the place who think like that, for those people who think like that. So this belongingness is very important, which is slowly going away. People, they don't feel as if, okay, this is our mission, this is what we are supposed to do. They think there are people who will do it, I am not supposed to do it. I'll just watch them doing it. But that has to be given up, and we need to come forward to take responsibilities in the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Regardless of, as I said, whether I am a grihastha or a brahmacharya or a sannyasi, it doesn't matter, right? We need people who will come forward to take serious responsibilities for the expansion of Sri Chaitanya's mission. That's called cooperation with the Supreme Lord's plan. Next verse, text 20. Chakram cha dikshvavitam dashasho swatejo manvantareshu manuvamshadharo vibharti dušteshu rajasodamam vyadadhat swakirtim satye triprishtha ushitim prathayang charitrahi. As the incarnation of Manu, the Lord became the descendant of the Manu dynasty and ruled over the miscreant kingly order, subduing them by his powerful wheel weapon. Undeterred in all circumstances, his rule was characterized by his glorious fame, which spread over the three lokas and above them to the planetary system of Satyaloka, the topmost in the universe. So now it's being spoken about the Manvantara avatar. It's a very simple purport, and you can read it on your own. Let's go to the next one. Dhanvantarishcha Bhagavan Swayam Eva Kirtir Namna Nirnam Pururujam Ruja Ashuhanti Yagyecha Bhagam Amritayur Avavarunda Ayushya Vedam Anushas Yavatirya Loke. The Lord in his incarnation of Dhanvantari very quickly cures the diseases of the ever-diseased living entities simply by his fame personified. And only because of him do the demigods achieve long lives. The personality of Godhead becomes ever glorified. He also exacted a share from the sacrifices, and it is he only who inaugurated the medical science or the knowledge of medicine in the universe. So Ayurveda has come from Dhanvantari, Lord of medicine. And this is something which I learned that devotees can do. Whenever we take some medicine, if we remember Lord Dhanvantari, then the medicine will work better. And again, it will become Krishna conscious activity because we are remembering the Supreme Lord, right? So while taking a medicine, we can remember Lord Dhanvantari. Next verse. Shatram Shayaya Vidunopabhritam Mahatma Brahma Druk Ujhita Patang Narakarti Lipsu Udhantyasab Avanikantakam Ugraviryas Trihi Saptakritva Urudhara Parashvadhena. When the ruling administrators, who are known as the Kshatriyas, turned astray from the path of the absolute truth, being desirous to suffer in hell, the Lord in his incarnation as the sage Parshuram uprooted those unwanted kings who appeared as the thorns of the earth. Thus he thrice, 7 times, which means 21 times, uprooted the Kshatriyas with his keenly sharpened chopper. So this is talking about Parshuram avatar. Okay, someone would like to read this purport. It's a short one. Who has not read yet? Would you like to?
The Kshatras, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
The Kshatras, or the ruling administrators of any part of the universe, either on this planet or on other planets, are factually the representatives of the Almighty personality of Godhead, and they are meant to lead the subject towards the path of God realization. Every state and its administrators, regardless of the nature of the administration, monarchy or democracy, oligarchy or dictatorship or autocracy, have the prime responsibility to lead the citizens towards God realization. This is essential for all human beings, and it's the duty of the Father, the spiritual master, and ultimately the state to take up the responsibility to lead the citizens towards this end. The whole creation of material existence is made for this purpose, just to give a chance to the fallen souls who rebel against the will of the Supreme Father and thus became conditioned by material nature. The force of material nature gradually leads one to a hellish condition of perpetual pains and miseries. Those going against the prescribed rules and regulations of conditional life are called Brahmajita Bhattas, or persons going against the path of the absolute truth, and they are liable to be punished. Lord Parasurama, the incarnation of personality of Godhead, appeared in such a state of worldly affairs and killed all the miscreant kings 21 times. Many Shastra kings fled away at that time from India to other parts of the world. And according to the authority of Mahabharata, the kings of Egypt originally migrated from India because of Parasurama's program of chastisement. The kings or administrators are similarly chastised in all circumstances whenever they become godless and plan a godless civilization. And that's the order of the Almighty.
Yes. So some interesting piece of information. When Lord Parshuram was punishing the Kshatriyas, they fled from the subcontinent of India and they went to different places, different parts of the world, right? So in that regards, here Prabhupada mentions that the kings of Egypt originally migrated from India because of Parshuram's program of chastisement. Not just the king of Egypt, many different countries, people, they ran away from the Indian subcontinent. And because they got disconnected from Vedic culture, then their culture became little different from the Vedic culture. Some similarities, some differences. Differences due to mental speculation. Text 23. Asmat prasad sumukha kalaya kalesha ikshvaku vamshavatiriya guru nideshe tishtan vanam sadaitanuja avivesha yasmin viruddhya dashakandara artimarchat. Now the next three verses they talk about Lord Ramachandra. Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his plenary extensions, appeared in the family of Maharaj Ikshvaku as the lord of his internal potency Sita. Under the order of his father Maharaj Dashrath, he entered the forest and lived there for considerable years with his wife and younger brother. Ravana, who was very materially powerful, with 10 heads on his shoulders, committed a great offense against him and was thus ultimately vanquished. Ramayana, you all know the story. You can read this later. I mean, very long purport, but very simple to understand. Next verse. Yasmadadudabhir ulabhayanga vepo margam sapatyaripuram haravadidaksho dure surhin matita rosha shushona drishtya tatapyamana makaro raganakra chakraha. The personality of Godhead Ramachandra, being aggrieved for his distant intimate friend Sita, glanced over the city of the enemy Ravan with red hot eyes like those of Hara, who wanted to burn the kingdom of heaven. The great ocean, trembling in fear, gave him his way because its family members, the aquatics like the sharks, snakes, and crocodiles, were being burned by the heat of the angry red hot eyes of the Lord. Next verse. वक्षस्थलस्पर्शरुग्नमहेन्द्रवाह दन्तेर्विडम्बितककुब्जुष ऊढहासं सद्यो शुभी सह विनेष्यति दारहर्तुर् Vispurjite dhanusha ucharato dhisainnye. When Ravana was engaged in the battle, the trunk of the elephant which carried the king of heaven, Indra, broke in pieces, having collided with the chest of Ravana, and the scattered broken parts illuminated all directions. Ravana therefore felt proud of his prowess and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers, thinking himself the conqueror of all directions. But his laughter, overtaken by joy, along with his very air of life, suddenly ceased with the tingling sound of the bow of Ramachandra, the personality of Godhead. Huh? So, the Lord Ramachandra had a beautiful bell on his bow. And as people would get killed by the arrows shot from that bow, that bell would itself ring. Ting, 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 ting. So if the bell is ringing, you should know people are getting killed by Lord Ramachandra's bow. So Ravana heard that tinkling sound. Next verse. Now these verses 26 to 35, they talk about the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. Bhume suretarabaruta vimarditaya kleshavayaya kalayasita Krishna keshaha jataha karishyati jananupalakshya margaha karmani chatmamahimopanibandhanani. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. So it's again a very long puppet, but we'll still read this puppet. Okay, someone, Chitra Prabhu, you wanted to read Chitra Putra Prabhu? Are you there, Prabhuji? Okay, I think not there. You are there. All right, please read.
I'm there, but I cannot see the screen again.
Cannot see the screen.
Yes.
Now?
So can let someone read. Yes, it's due to my internet. So let somebody read, and I'll read again later.
Okay. Someone else can read, please.
Can I read?
Yes, Prabhu. Rasavan Prabhu, you can read.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This verse is especially describing the appearance of Lord Krishna and his immediate expansion, Lord Baladev. Both Lord Krishna and Baladev are one supreme personality. Energies. The whole unit is known as one supreme Brahman. Such extensions of the Lord are divided into two divisions, namely personal and differential. The personal expansions are called the Vishnu Tattvas, and the differential expansions are called the Jiva Tattvas. And in such expansional activity, Lord Baladev is the first expansion of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vishnu Puran, as well as in the Mahabharata, both Krishna and Baladev are mentioned as having beautiful black hair. Even in what is called Anupalashya Marga, or in still more technical Vedic terms, Swan Manasa Gochara, who is never to be seen or realized by the limited perception people in general. In Bhagavad Gita 7:25, it is said by the Lord, Naham Prakasha Savasya Yoga.
Are you there, Prabhu? I think your network is not working well. Someone else can read then, please, whose network is stable. Hare Krishna. No one to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I start? Can I start from beginning?
Yes,
26.
yes, Jyoti sir, Prabhu, please start from.
Purport. These verses is especially describing the appearance of the Lord Krishna and his immediate expansion. Lord Baldeva. Both Lord Krishna and Lord Baldeva are Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is omnipotent and he expands himself in innumerable forms and energies. And the whole unit is known as, as the one Supreme Brahman. Such expansions of the Lord are divided into two divisions, namely personal and differential. The personal expansions are called the Vishnu Tattvas and the differential expansions are called Jiva Tattvas. And in such expansional activities, Lord Baldeva is the first personal expansion of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Vishnu Puran, as well as in the Mahabharata, both Krishna and Balram are mentioned as having beautiful black hair. Even in their advanced age, the Lord is called Anupalakshya Marga, or in still more technical Vedic terms, Avan Manasa Gochara, one who is never to be seen or realized by the limited senses prescription of the people in general. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.25, it is said by the Lord, Nama Prakasha, Sarvasha Yoga Maya Samarvata. In other words, he reserves the right of not being exposed to anyone and everyone. Only the bona fide devotee can know him by his specific symptoms. And out of many, many such symptoms, one symptom is mentioned here in this verse, that the Lord is Sita Krishna Kesa, or one who is observed always with beautiful black hair. Both Lord Krishna and Baladeva have such hair in their head, on their head, and thus even in advanced age, they appeared like young boys, 16-year-old. That is the particular symptoms of the personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that although he is oldest personality among all living entities, he always looks like a new, youthful boy. That is the characteristic of spiritual body. The material body is symptomized by birth, death, old age, and disease. But the spiritual body is conscious, conspicuous by the absence of those symptoms. Living entities who reside in the Vaikuntha Lokas, in eternal life and bliss, have the same type of spiritual body. Without being affected by any sign of old age, it is described in Bhagavatam, Canto 6, that the party of Vishnu Duta who came to deliver Ajamila from the clutches of the party of the Yamraj appeared like youthful boys. Corroborating the description in this verse, it is ascertained thus that the spiritual bodies in the Vaikuntha Loka, either of the Lord or of the other inhabitants, are completely distinct from the material bodies of this world. Therefore, when the Lord descends from the world to this world, he descends in his spiritual body of Atma Maya, or in internal potency, without any touch of the Bahiranga Maya, or external material energy. The allegation that the impersonal Brahman appears in this material world by accepting the material body is quite absurd. Therefore, the Lord, when he comes here, he has not a material body, but a spiritual body. The impersonal Brahma Jyoti is only the glaring effulgence of the body of the Lord. And there is no difference in quality between the body of the Lord and the impersonal ray of the Lord called Brahma Jyoti. Now the question is why the Lord, who is omnipotent, come here to diminish the burden created upon the world by the unscrupulous kingly order. Certainly the Lord does not need to come here personally for such purpose, but he actually descends to exhibit his transcendental activity in order to encourage his pure devotee who want to enjoy life by chanting the glories of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 9.13, 14, it is stated that the Mahatmas, the great devotee of the Lord, take pleasure in chanting of the activities of the Lord. All Vedic literature are meant for turning one's attention towards the Lord and his transcendental activities. Thus, the activities of the Lord in his dealing with worldly people create a subject matter for discussion by his pure devotees.
Yes. Next verse. Thank you, Prabhu. तोकेन
Hare Krishna.
जीवहरणं यद् उलूकिकायास्त्रैमासिकस्य च पदाशकटो अपवृत्तः यद्रिङ्गतान्तरगतेन दिवि स्पृशोर्वा उन्मूलनं तु इतरथार्जुनयोर्न भाव्यम्. There is no doubt about Lord Krishna being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother? To overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old, or to uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling. All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. So now, in brief, the brilliant pastimes of Krishna are being told by Shukdev Goswami. We'll not go to the purport because again you'll be reading this in detail in Canto 10 and you already know them. You can read them later on your own. It's just summary of the pastimes are given here. Yadvai vraje vrajapashun vishatoya pitan palangstu ajivayad anugraha drishti vrishtya tatshuddayati vishavirya vilola jivam uchchatayishyat udagram viharan hardinyam. Then also when the cowherd boys and their animals drank the poisoned water of the river Yamuna, and after the Lord in his childhood revived them by his merciful glance, just to purify the water of the river Yamuna, he jumped into it as if playing and chastised the venomous Kaliya snake, which was lurking there, its tongue emitting waves of poison. Who can perform such Herculean tasks but the Supreme Lord? Next verse. Tat karma divyam इवयन्निशयानं दावाग्निना शुचिवने परिदह्यमाने उन्नेष्यति व्रजमतो वसितान्तकालं नेत्रे पिधाप्य सबलो नदिगम्य वीर्यः. Next verse, translation. On the very night of the day of the chastisement of the Kaliya snake, when the inhabitants of Brajbhumi were sleeping carefreely, there was a forest fire ablaze due to dry leaves, and it appeared that all the inhabitants were sure to meet their death. But the Lord, along with Balaram, saved them simply by closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord. Superhuman activities. Right. Next verse. Grinita yad yad upabandhamamushya mata shulbam sutasya natu tattadamushya mati yajrimbatosya vadane bhuvanani gopi samvikshya sankitamana pratibodhitasit. When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother, Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna, by and by, opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. We all know this pastime of Lord Damodar Next verse, last for today. Nandam cha mokshyati bhayad varunasya pashad gopan vileshu pihitan maya sununa cha ahani apritam nishishayanam atishramena lokam vikuntam upaneshyati gokulam sma. Lord Krishna saved his foster father Nand Maharaj from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the cowherd boys from the caves of the mountain, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also to the inhabitants of Vrindavan, who were busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt his godhood. Okay, someone can read this purport. It's a short one.
Yes, I read.
Okay, Prabhu.
Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Lord Krishna, went to take his bath in the river Yamuna in the dead of night, mistakenly thinking that the night was already over. Thus the demigod Varuna took him to the Varuna planet just to have a look of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who appeared there to release his father. Actually, there was no arrest of Nanda Maharaj by Varuna because the inhabitants of Vrindavan were always engaged in thinking of Krishna, in constant meditation on the personality of Godhead in a particular form of samadhi or trance of bhakti yoga. They had no fear of the miseries of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that to be in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by full surrender in transcendental love frees one from the miseries inflicted by the laws of material nature. Here, it is clearly mentioned that the inhabitants of Vrindavan were extensively busy in the hard labor of their day's work, and due to the day's hard labor, they were engaged in sound sleep at night. So practically, they had very little time to devote to meditation or to the other preliminary of spiritual activities. But factually, they were engaged in the high spiritual activities only. Everything done by them was spiritualized because everything was dovetailed in their relationship with Lord Sri Krishna. The central point of activities was Krishna, and as such, the so-called activities of the material world were saturated with spiritual potency. That is the advantage of the way of Bhakti Yoga. One should discharge one's duty on Lord Krishna's behalf, and all one's actions will be saturated with Krishna thought, the highest pattern of trance in spiritual realization. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay. So, we'll stop here. We'll continue with the remaining shlokas tomorrow's class. Any questions or comments? No. So we'll stop here. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada.